and welcome to everyone around the world, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another Thursday evening or Friday morning presentation of a live stream. We're going to do a live stream, and I see quite a few people have been commenting already. I missed two in a row. My apologies for those. The first one was due to my being in Utah for an aeronautical conference. It was actually put on by the state of Utah and their transportation department, whatever, UDOT, I think they call it. And that particular organization has responsibility for airports and airspace and stuff like that. So they put on an industry conference. So they're looking at all the various people from, the aircraft executives to whatever. But they also had, for the AOPA members, first, a 1/3 discount on the price to get in. So it was $100 instead of $150. And second, on Tuesday afternoon, they had a Rusty Pilots seminar. And because I was AOPA member, I got to go to that for free. Otherwise, it would have been $50. So, which comes close to paying for about half of the membership right there. Anyway, it was a good thing. Since I have yet to fly my airplane, it is getting very close to being finished. Could be within the week. And then I'm going to set up some training with a couple trusted trainers and work on those landings, kind of get back in the air, practice all the things that we did. I'm going to fly the airplane for a bit, and then we're going to put the thing on the market. So if anybody wants a RANS S6ES, I'll give you a great bargain on it. Anyway, we are still, let's go back. Chris G7VEO, hello to Augies Worldwide from England, where it is 1:47 in the morning there. Reed says, hello, Dave and fellow Augies. Nice to have you back tonight. It's good to be back because last week, to tell you the honest truth, I just wasn't up to it. So feeling a little bit better today, although I did have a rather entertaining fall, but that was out in the Home Depot parking lot. I went there to get some steel stakes because we're going to take down the 20-foot mast that I have out here with the pulley on it where I can put antennas on it. And are going to replace it with a 30-foot mast based on a design sent by an Augie. The mast is built, it just has to be put up. And given the strength and all that sort of stuff, it's a lot heavier than the old one. I decided to go for 3-foot metal stakes rather than 2-foot. Those are $12.95 a piece down at Home Depot. Got those today. So I'm keeping track of the costs so I can say, okay, for this is what it's going to cost you to put up a mast like this. And some of the commercial masts are starting to look a lot more attractive, actually. Okay, Reed AB8AS says, hello, Dave and my fellow Augies. Nice to have you back tonight. Thank you. Optical Man Jeff, hi, Dave, from KE0OG in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it is sunny and 75 degrees. Glad to see you back this week. Good to be back. It's 85 here with 11% humidity. When I was in Montrose earlier today, it was 98. And we had a big, long traffic stop for construction, both going and coming to Montrose. And normally for those, I open the windows, turn the car off, and just wait. But today I left the car on and the windows closed with the air conditioning on because it was 98. So I have heard it said, I don't know how they measure this, but today and then yesterday before it and so on, set records for the hottest day on Earth. Apparently they've got some algorithm that averages the temperature around the world. And it comes up in the 60 degrees-ish because you've got the one half of the world is in winter and the other half's in summer. And they're looking at all kinds of things because they enjoy looking at them. It's NOAA that brings us not only terrestrial weather, but celestial weather as well, space weather. Okay, let's see. Larry Fields, good morning from Manila in the Philippines. It's 8:30 here. Is waiting. Anybody know of a free log program? My Logger 32 stopped working. Is N1MM free? Somebody comment on that and tell me that's free, because that would be a good one to do. I use N3FJP, which is not free, although it's not terribly expensive, and it's kept up to date actively, because the guy who does it, this is his livelihood, is keeping up all these contest loggers. And I am filing the field day submission for the Montrose Amateur Radio Club, so I had to upgrade my software. I cleaned out, this is on the field day program, cleaned out all the other stuff and imported the files from the two different stations at the field day, and they all import nicely. And then basically you just push a button and it pops a report out which tells you things that you want to know. It looks like this, if you can see that, but it tells you the total contacts. This is what the entry has to have in it. Okay, and then that is submitted. The entry form is interesting because it wants proof. It says, did you get publicity? And attach a photo of the publicity. You know, they want to see things like that. It's interesting, some things they don't want or don't feel they need documentation. So sometimes some of our members have gone to extensive lengths to get photographs, and it turns out we don't need them for the submission. Let's see. Leo Gustafson, hello Dave and all Augies, visiting from Albany, Oregon. Sunny and high 90s today. Yeah, I saw that. Rather miserable for a third-generation Finn like me. Well, Oregon, the Oregon I know anyway, is usually cool and humid. It only goes in about 100, 150 miles inland. You get that cool, humid weather, and you get these gigantic forests, just thick forests. I mean, Weyerhaeuser has plantations down there and all these other people to grow the trees for paper. And I saw an area that had been clear cut. It was about 10 acres, I would say. And they pulled all the stumps out, which is, I guess, something they're supposed to do. And good grief, the amount of biomass left after they took the trees out was just phenomenal. So, you know, if it ever does for any period of time get dry in the Pacific Northwest and you get a fire started out there, you will be in real trouble. We've had the wildfires in Canada. As I was driving into Montrose, I saw that Grand Mesa ahead of me to the north was kind of in a smoky looking haze, so it might be our turn in the barrel to get the smoke. So far we've avoided it. So far also we've avoided the heat, but like I said, it's 84 right now. It was 91 when I got home, and it was 98 in Montrose, so it was just plain warm. So let's see. Still waiting for MFJ to come through and build a replacement MFJ 464. It's interesting you mention MFJ. I've got two orders. The first one, the oldest one from May, is a little MFJ meter that will measure inductance and capacitance. I'm going, these are readily available everywhere. And I thought I'd buy it from MFJ to support them. But it has been there's nothing coming. Okay, it's back ordered. The one that I just ordered, July 2nd. Now I realize this is a holiday weekend and all that. July 2nd, which was Sunday, is a little code practice thing called the CW Elmer. I have the original article from QST. I have a rather lengthy email from the inventor, and he has given the rights to MFJ exclusively, I guess, till December or something, and then DX Engineering is going to pick it up. So I ordered one of those, and okay, that was on the 2nd, and now as of today, the 6th, I get an email that says, oh, by the way, that's back ordered. Now, it would seem to me, now who would I know? I'm just an engineer. But it would seem to me that if something is not available in stock, they would tell you that when you go to order it. They say, oh, by the way, this item is not in stock. Do you want to back order, or do you want to just cancel? But since I paid via PayPal, these two items have actually been paid for. One back in May for $125, and this one from July 2nd for $185. So I hope they come. They really do. You know, it's always very possible. I had this happen some years, well, many years ago, when my computer at the time, my first computer, was a Radio Shack Model 1. And there was a piece of software I wanted to get for it. And at one store, they said, oh, it's not available anymore. We're discontinuing it. Well, another store said, well, they're just out of stock. It's back ordered. We can get you a new one if you want. We'll put it on back order. Well, of course, the software had been completely discontinued, so I never did get anything. Of course, I got my money back, but it's interesting. It was kind of a new thing, you know, the computer world, where stuff can come in flashy, brand new, and 3 months later, you're throwing it in the garbage bin. I mean, that's kind of the rate at which electronics has changed over the past several years. Now, there are a couple of other things I wanted to show you. This one is a little thumb drive. Okay. After talking with you guys, I decided to go ahead and give it a try. This is a 16 gigabyte, so these things are pretty inexpensive. Get them 5 at a time for about just under $4 each. And then I load them up. This is the first one, and I hope this works for other collections. But this collection is my 10 most popular videos. The 10 with the most views. Some of them going back quite a ways. One of them is actually an old version, I mean the original version of an extra training video that's years out of date, but it's about antennas, and it's sort of a vocabulary lesson on a whole bunch of things having to do with antennas, where I remember the book just said, here's the definitions of each of these, and they give about 2 or 3 lines, and I said to the camera, I said, we can do better than that. Let's get some actual explanations of what's going on. So anyway, that video is on here. The shortwave listening video is on here. Now, what I think this might be good for, if you want to watch at home, you can watch any of the over 1,000 videos that I've made, except the ones that the league is exclusively licensed, which is the training videos. They're free for tech, and if you're a member of the league, they're free for general and extra. And the way to get into that is to pay your league dues. And I was quite interested. In fact, I took a picture the other day. I had filled up my Jeep. Now, Jeep's not an economy car, but it's not, like a Sherman tank or anything. Let's see if I can find those photos that I took. Okay, what's that? Well, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm getting close. I hate this thing. Let's see if I can get it any bigger. This was at the gas station. Okay, 15.4 gallons is really only about 3/4 of a tank, because it handles up to 20. And the cost at even the lower gas prices that we have right now was still $58.28. So one crummy tank of gas costs more than joining the league. Okay? So if you want to put the cost of joining the league into perspective, think in terms of a tank of gas and join the league. I don't know, don't go anywhere for a week and you can save the money. Okay, how do we get rid of that? I don't know. This little thing here has more computational power than the Apollo spacecraft. Unfortunately, up here, I've got about the same compute power as the Apollo spacecraft. So this thing runs circles all around me all night long, and I can hear it laughing in the background as it makes fun of me. So, kind of crazy. Anyway, so that's one thing I wanted to mention to you. Another thing I wanted to mention to you is something from a patron, Doug Dry, KD4NC, from Kennesaw, Georgia. Turns out he collects old telephones. And I had mentioned, I don't know, in one of the videos or live streams that I really would like to get an old black dial phone. And this is what showed up today. This is an old black dial phone. Most of you, because I know the demographics, most of you know exactly what this is. But what I'm going to do, my assistant will be coming back tomorrow, and I'm going to see if he knows how to dial it. I remember we were taught that in elementary school, how to dial the phone. So, very interesting, and I'm very appreciative to Doug. I'm told the phone works, and so I'm going to have to find an internet telephone service that has an interface box that will accept the dial pulses instead of just touch tone, and see if that works. And then we can put the thing out as quite a conversation piece. People say, oh, I remember those. And I says, well, pick it up and call somebody, and it should work just fine. Okay, so Leo says his login to the ARRL has been rectified. There was a problem. They constantly are changing their website. And they did something on the Learn site that requires third-party cookies. And the problem with that is I had set my Chrome browser up so that it would do third-party cookies normally, but in the incognito browser, it would not. Well, that wasn't good enough for the software, so I had to change that to accept all cookies. And Steve Goodgame at the ARRL, who I am sure is awful tired of hearing questions about this. But I says, look, I'm an old man. You're going to have to give me a step-by-step. And he sent me a few photographs that show how to do that. And so I thought, well, you know, there are a lot of people out there in watching this right now who are of an age where all this discussion of cookies, sweet tarts, candy, cake, and all that don't mean much. So I put a little video together, which should be coming out in the next several days, that says, here's how you do it. If you're having trouble getting into learn.arrl.org, here are some concrete suggestions for what to do to get past this very strange error message. Yeah, because Steve's a great guy. He is the one that I work with on the technical aspects of the videos for the league. And he told me just allow third-party cookies. And I looked and looked and looked and looked in Google and on Chrome. And I finally had to go back to him and saying, frustration levels rising here. Please give me a step-by-step. And he did. He had photographs and everything. It was very, very nice about that. Okay, so it's coming through. So let's see. We just got $20 from Sean, KM6NFO, says, that's my phone. Thanks. Okay. Do you still have an old black dial phone? This is so cool. We have a desk downstairs in the media room that's just sitting there. And I have an old touch tone phone that I just sat on the desk because it just looked like it needed to be there. My wife also has a little thing by the door in the entryway that is called a telephone desk. And it's designed to be a place to put your phone, and you can sit there and talk on the phone, and there's a little alcove where you can put the directories in and stuff like that. I think if somebody of my size sat on it, it would collapse, but it would certainly hold a typical woman in 1940 who weighed 98 pounds. So I'm thinking that's where we will put this. And what I would absolutely love to do is get this thing hooked up so that it could actually make and receive calls. That would be so fun. So, very good. All right, let's see where we were here. Okay. Was a bit surprised my grandson has found a Play Store program that does Morse code and has been playing with it even at the dinner table. He's nearly 9 years old, the Class A here. Okay, Larry Fields is in the Philippines, I think. And the Class A here has a CW test at 5 words per minute. No longer required by the ITU, but it's up to every individual country whether or not they want to have a Morse code requirement. When I was in the Philippines, which was 50 years ago, granted, 50 years ago, there was a company called the Radio Communications of the Philippine Islands, RCPI. And they would send telegrams for you, for fee, of course. And they used an HF radio network to send these around. And they used Morse code. Now, there was an up-and-coming new company there called PTT for the Philippine Telephone and Telegraph Company, or Philippines, I'm not sure which. I guess the name of the country is the Philippines. So, I don't know, Philippine could be an adjective. Anyway, they used teletype over VHF circuits and was generally considered to be considerably more reliable than RCPI. So I have no idea how it is done today. I've got to imagine, like everywhere else in the world, everybody in the country has a cell phone. So all of that sort of stuff has changed. But Larry, perhaps you could tell me a little bit about what the communications environment is like in the Philippines these days. When I left the Philippines, I think they were 39 million people. I think it's double that now. So, okay, Chuck Schreiber. Good evening, Dave, and all Augies worldwide, and 5 KVO from the breezy hill country of South Texas. Currently 81. Glad to see you back, Dave. Hope all is going well. I'm doing well, although I did have a fall today. I was getting into the Jeep and got my foot tangled up somehow, and it ended up in a heap on the pavement. Fortunately, 2 old guys came over and helped me up, because that would have been a kind of a interesting thing to do. Anyway, they helped me up. One was very upbeat and says, "Don't worry about it. Happens to all of us." And the other one was downbeat, and he says, "You need a car that's lower to the ground." I'm going, yeah, well, you're probably right, but I haven't had a Jeep since I learned to drive, so I'm going to keep this Jeep for a while. We are getting rid of we are selling the motorhome. Not for anywhere near what we paid for it, but we're going to try and pay off a big loan that we have, and then I have to pay for the insurance for the aircraft, which has gone up and is about a quarter of the value of the airplane in insurance premiums. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But there aren't that many people who insure airplanes. And there's no options like an automobile insurance. For example, an automobile insurance, I could select a $500 or $1,000 deductible and greatly reduce my rates. No option here. No deductible. So when I broke the front wheel off, they're paying for the whole thing. However, they're doing the annual at the same time. So I'm probably going to have to pay for that. And I don't have the money. And the propane pre-buy. If you buy propane now for the winter, you get a guaranteed rate. Okay, because they collect all their pre-buy contracts, and they go place a contract with a propane, an up-channel propane supplier, who will give them their propane, which then they distribute at a retail level. And so that's coming up. And then I'm starting to look, okay, I get this much from the league. For the first time this month, I got more from Patreon than I did from YouTube. So that's why I'm kind of trying to shift emphasis over to propane. It's not at the mercy of the YouTube algorithm, and I think it promotes a good relationship. Like Doug and he's a patron, so he communicated with me over the patron system. And I look at those, all of them, and try to answer them. Because these are people who are actually paying my bills here, paying my assistant, paying for things that MFJ doesn't have, all of these kinds of things. And I really appreciate them. Next is the sdave@arrl.org. That comes directly to me into my regular email account. Doesn't go into some place where I can ignore it. And I try to answer those. And then third, if you want, you can actually mail me at Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. And I get those. Usually, but not always, I'll reply to a letter with a letter. But I might use it for a video or something like that. Now, I published this latest UST. I got to tell you, it's taken me till now to calm down about it. The very first question in here raises an interesting question. He wanted to actually measure the loss in his coax, between his station and his antenna. And so he was asking, what if he were to somehow get to the feed point of the antenna, disconnect it, connect it to a power meter, and then he could measure what the power loss was. Putting out 100 watts, only getting 50, whatever, which would be 3 dB, which is a large loss. And I said there's a simpler way. The simpler way is to use your antenna tuner, or no, I'm sorry, your antenna analyzer. They all have this feature called return loss. They send out a signal and they compare it with the signal that comes back. And they will tell you the loss in dB. Now, if you happen to have at the end of it a 50 ohm load, there will be no return. No return at all. So the return loss will be huge because it's all gone. It went out the antenna. So what you do is you actually either leave the antenna end of the transmission line open or shorted. It works the same either way. Now, what happens is when you get an open or a short, 100% of the power is reflected. Now, there's a phase difference between whether it's open and closed. But for return loss, we're looking at the ratio of magnitudes, not the phase loss. Phase loss in this situation is irrelevant. So I wrote about that, and I actually included photographs from the screen. You can see right down, there it is. Where did we go? I got a finger there somewhere. Right there, the return loss is 0.81 decibels. Well, there was an unfortunate error that I did not catch in the article where it says I measured a 100-foot section of LMR 240. I did not. I measured a 10-foot section. I went back and checked, and that's what I had written in my original article, and somewhere in the publication process it got changed to 100 feet. And I think that's because we usually think of loss in terms of 100 feet of coax. Got changed to 100, and then when I reviewed it, I do the final review, I didn't catch it. So it went out with that error in it. The other problem that I think I did not make really clear is that you have to take the return loss as a two-way thing. It's out and back. So if you start with 100 watts and you have an attenuation of 3 dB, you're going to see 50 watts, and then when that's reflected back, you're going to see another attenuation of 3 dB, and you'll end up with 12.5 watts at the back. So when you're looking at the return loss, you have to take half of the return loss, and that's, I guess you would call it the forward loss in the power. Now, I calculated this to be 0.9 dB. Well, actually it was 0.81, so that's another error there. Now, if you change that to 100 feet from 10, that would be 9 dB, or actually 8. And if you look at the Pasternak guide for that particular cable, the forward loss is 3 dB. And so the return loss would be 6 dB. And I came up in here with 4 dB. 4 dB. So 3 dB versus 4 dB. Not a big difference. And I'm going to go back and actually verify that that piece of cable I had was actually 10 feet long. Because it seems like 10 feet long. I was told it was 10 feet long. It might be 9 feet long. I don't know. We'll see. But in any event, it is easy to confuse the actual attenuation in the coax, which is converted to heat. Okay, and the return loss, which is there and back again, to quote Bilbo Baggins. So you have to take the return loss, divide it in half. So if it's 6 dB return loss, the actual forward loss is 3 dB, which, by the way, is what is advertised for LMR 240 in the Pasternak, which has all these specifications and everything. Very handy. This loss is at 2 meters. Probably should have said this. This whole thing is about a 2-meter antenna. And then I said, and like I said, it's taken me till today to settle down. But in here I say, I'll quote you. It says, it says a return loss of 100 foot, which is 10-foot section of LMR 240, which is rather lossy at 146 megahertz. He objected terribly to the word lossy. It's half the signal is lost. Now, if that isn't lossy, I don't know what is. Half the signal is lost. That's lossy. That's the problem with using small diameter cables at VHF. A good cable to use would be like LMR 400 or G213, something like that that has less loss at the higher frequencies. And also, you're still going to want to keep the cable pretty short. So let's suppose I have a tower directly over me, and I want to move the antenna up 50 feet. Well, I'm adding 50 feet of cable. Okay, adding 50 feet of cable is going to reduce the power by an additional 1.5 dB, and it will reduce the received signal by 1.5 dB. So you have to do a real, genuine trade-off. If you do the 50 feet, will you hear enough better to make up for the cable loss? Or should you just make that a smaller antenna? And usually I would say, get a VHF antenna up where it can kind of see the horizon, and then there's no point in going any higher. And in fact, if there are trees in the way or something, just ignore them. Okay, if there are buildings in the way, that's another story. And recognize that 2 meters is going to get refracted and bounced and all that sort of stuff on the way. Anyway, that's what's been bugging me. Like I said, the way he wrote the letter, he demanded that I issue a public apology to Times Microwave for calling their lossy cable lossy. I'm sorry, excuse me. 3 dB loss in a cable is half of the power converted to heat. That's lossy. By the way, lossy isn't a word. Did you know that? I've looked it up in the dictionary. My wife said lossy. Lossy isn't a word because she proofreads these. And I says it must be. We use it all the time. And I looked it up in the dictionary. It's not a word. You can say a loss coefficient of 3 dB. It's just crazy anyway. So anyway, that's what I was so grumpy about. He also said that I needed to issue a formal apology to all of my supporters for being so far off in my measurements. And I'm going, guys, I used a good instrument, the Rig Expert. I stand by it. And that's that. So, anyway, I think I should have been more clear that I should have caught that error, okay? And I should have been more clear that the attenuation going one way is half of the return loss. That I did not make clear, and for that I do apologize. Okay, let's see. Thanks for your videos. This is from Lawrence Paraday. They really do help us rookies, KD9WES. Well, welcome aboard, and please understand, my channel is designed to help newcomers. There is no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that is not asked. And remember, if you have a question, there's probably going to be a bunch of other people who have the same question. So please do go ahead and pose the question. And I tell the story of how when I was a new ham, I was very confused by something I had read. And my question was, how much coax cable did I need to go to the antenna? And the book said enough to get from the radio to the antenna. And I thought it was a joke, and that they were hiding the real answer. It had to be some multiple of 12/5 of a wavelength or something. And finally I figured out, when somebody took pity on me and explained, the answer to that question really is, you need as much cable to get from your radio to the antenna. It really is the answer. I did not know that. I was, when you're a new ham, you've got a million questions. Don't be afraid to ask. And if somebody laughs, kick them in the gut or something, and then say, I really mean it. I want to know the answer to that question. No, don't kick them in the gut, because they might kick back. I don't know. Anyway, yes. Okay, I do want to help the rookies, and I'm very happy that you're in amateur radio now. And Dennis Gross says, I am finally officially KE0OG, Alpha Echo Zero Victor Alpha. That's a nice call sign. It has a nice ring to it. So congratulations on your new call sign. That is actually a advanced class call sign. Mine is also an advanced class call sign, KE0OG. And when I upgraded to extra, I opted not to ask for an extra class call sign, because by then they were kind of running out of them. So, okay, Terrence, 2 Echo 0, India Papa Kilo. Hi, Dave. Hope you are well. I am getting better. I've been overdoing it rather seriously. One of the other things I'm doing right now with my assistant is we have gone through all of the general class videos, because the general changes this year, new book, new questions, and so on. We went through everything, and I even found errors I'd never caught before. We fixed those. But we're going to have those videos up this month, and I've not put a huge hurry on it, because the videos as they stand are good enough for the new questions. There are a few things they don't cover. Now, the section on RF emission safety, RF safety, there's been a lot of movement in that community in the last few years. In fact, I was asked earlier this year to go ahead, please, and update the technician video for that. And I did. And so I think I'm just going to simply re-record the old video with the new material in it. That's the one thing that's outstanding. But I still have to sit down and watch every video and find any remaining errors. And then when all that is fixed, I can tell my assistant, go ahead and render those and start feeding them to the league so they can put them up in place of the ones that are up there now. Okay, so Joe Tyson, greetings, Dave, from Apex, North Carolina, 79 degrees. It's now down to 84 here. Eddie Hatherall, nice to catch you live from GW6BXU. Eddie says K6SDW is in the building. Hello. Bontebach says, evening all. Hope everyone had a great field day and 4th of July. We were at field day at the start and finish. We let them use the motorhome as kind of cooling off place, because it's kind of hot up there. I didn't stay because we were so tired from that trip to Utah. I think I'm still recovering from that trip to Utah. Okay, Terrence. Oh, Glenn Martin. Hello from far west Missouri. 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 30% relative humidity. That is downright pleasant. It must be very nice outside. Terrence 2 Echo Zero Indy Papa Kilo. There is a major consultation on ham radio going on in the UK at present from Ofcom. My call sign is likely to change. Oh my. I think if they did that in the US, there would be riots. I mean, this is so crazy these days. So crazy. And, the way our Supreme Court is turning back the clock. I mean, before long, the FCC is going to change the rules and say we have to use vacuum tubes only. So it just seems like that. Everything's going backwards. So I do have a few vacuum tubes here. I may have to put something together with that. Okay, Endotooth KE0OG from North Alabama. I hear it has been extraordinarily warm down there. Lefty says hello, all Augies from Des Moines, Iowa. Beautiful weather, no rain, gentle breeze, very nice. Terrence, the weather last week in Friedrichshafen was very hot. It sapped the energy from us. I thought that Hamfest was almost totally indoors. I don't know, maybe they don't normally air condition because it doesn't normally get that hot. But I hope you had a good time there and hope there were some very interesting things that you saw. Bontebok. We had to build our own field day logger so we could log while operating in VR. Okay, better that I'm not getting VR. Victoria Regina, VR. Laurie Fields, my grandson has fallen in love with airplanes and found a website to track planes. Flight Radar, which he follows them since we were next to NAIA, and it's funny, we saw the PAF Museum, Philippine Air Force Museum, with Hueys and Mustangs. Oh yeah. I was in the Philippines during the Vietnam War. I was a missionary. I wasn't an airman. But I was stationed at Angeles City, which is in right outside of Clark Air Base, which at the time was a very busy American air base. And so I got to know lots of American people. And it was there that I decided that when I got back from my mission, I was going to go to Air Force ROTC, get a commission, and go in the Air Force. And they did. So, Hueys and Mustangs, wow. Hueys from Vietnam and Mustangs from World War II. And Leo says he is enjoying that too. Paul, hi Dave and fellow Augies. Greetings from Brisbane and VK Land. And greetings to you too. I can wave and you can see it tomorrow. So Harry Rundle says, hi Dave and fellow Augies. Hope you had a great field day. Our Aero Club running 4A was very good. Oh, that must have been fun. I'm assuming you were running it from a hangar or something like that. Leo Gustafson, we've had terrible wildfires here in Oregon for the last few years. And that's bad because, that area up there and then parts of the South are major lumber suppliers for the country and abroad. When I was in Mississippi at Casler Air Force Base, again, we're getting quite a long time ago, I remember driving through Mississippi through mile after mile after mile of managed forests where they were growing the wood for lumber and for paper pulp and stuff like that. And, there used to be a major logging industry in Oregon. And then activists forced it to stop, threw thousands of people out of work. And now trying to recreate that, a little difficult. You know, in the legal environment, it's very different. It's very much more pro-business right now. Okay. Domino Storm 1, I got to operate a 3-element tri-bander during field day. I never operated a Yagi before and immediately saw the difference over a dipole. Oh, yes, a couple S units. It's very definitely big. Terrence Barfield, Dave, KE0OG. You do who, Terrence? UK public apology. I did no wrong. In the way I contacted Dave, KE0OG, using your wife as it's your fault for NI. Okay. I think he's making a joke. I hope he's making a joke. Oh. I kind of remember that. Somebody got to me through my wife, and I was, I don't know, there was something in the content of it. There was somewhat of a demand, and I didn't want people going through my wife for that sort of thing. I've given people ways of contacting me, and I'd appreciate it if you used those. And not go through my wife. My wife has her own things to deal with. She teaches art. She does art. She's heavily involved in the local art community. I mean, she's fully busy. And I'm just concerned about people going through as my fault for NI. Yeah, please don't contact me through my wife. Absolutely don't. Just don't. You know, I know that might be a little different the way it's done in other countries, but it's not kosher here. Okay, so Domino Storm 1, the Aggie brought in nonstop pileups from the 7th call area here in New York. Oh yeah, it does. We use the Aggies for our field day. Terrence, apologies. I have forgotten the particulars of that. Not sure I want to go through it again, but I don't know, something really set me off. So, yeah, if you want to contact me, I mean, and I don't know if this is just an American thing. I would think it's a European thing too. If you want to talk to me, if you got beef with me, talk to me. Don't talk to my wife. Talk to me. Okay? And we can sort it out. But my wife should not be involved. So I don't know how you got a hold of her anyway. So I've got these 3 ways you can get a hold of me. If you're a patron, use the patron messaging system, because that comes right into my email inbox immediately. Also send it to askdave@arrl.org, which will get directly to me. And that's kind of the overall preferred way. And the other one is, you just mail me something, and I'll get that. P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado 81432. And I think I've said that so doggone many times on the air. And I think it's maybe because of whatever set 2 I had with you about my wife. I'm very protective of her. I'm not her first husband. She's not my first wife. And we've both been through hell and back. And I try to protect her from, you know, if there's a controversy I'm involved in, it doesn't need to involve her. So anyway, because of that, I'm going to change my videos to every video will have a how to contact me slide. So that, because I think you contacted me by searching the internet and finding my wife's website, which has her phone number on it, and her email address, as a matter of fact. Although I think that, I'm not sure the old all-day art address works anymore. But this is how I want to be contacted. Okay. Some people try to call me. I really, really discourage that. First of all, it takes a lot of time, and I want to be nice. I really want to help, you know. But what I'd really rather see is an email written down with photographs, pictures, diagrams, whatever. Okay, a photograph is worth hundreds of words, maybe not 1,000 words, but hundreds of words. I've had people send paragraphs this thick. And 3/10 of an inch from the end of this, I have added a plastic cup. And I have no idea what you're talking about. Please send me a photograph. So I'll often just go back, could you please send me a photograph of this, this, and this? And I'll take a look at them. And so that really helps, because I've had several contacts lately from people who are having trouble with stuff. And I look at the photographs and I go, I see an issue. So, you know, maybe that would help a little bit. So, Terrence, I'm sorry if it was an issue. Okay, so I am going to change from, you know, just every so often to every video I will have at the end a chart that says how to contact Dave, you know, and those 3 ways in there. And then a couple comments like, here's a comment that I would like to add. 1, if you think I'm wrong, tell me what the correct answer is. And what's your source for that? Okay? Because I want to go look it up. If I am wrong, I want to learn from it. How often am I wrong? I'm wrong all the time. Okay? I let that article go through without proper proofreading, and I did not make clear the relationship between return loss and kibble attenuation. Make mistakes. The thing you do with the mistake is you correct it. There's no moral value associated with the mistake. Now, if you make a mistake on purpose, that's not a mistake. That's sabotage. Okay, that's got a moral component to it. You're trying to be destructive. Okay, but if you just make a mistake, just fix it. Move on. So this email that really got me set off on Sunday put a very heavy moral value on a supposed mistake I had made that upon careful reflection was not a mistake at all. And second, don't tell me I owe anybody an apology. I'm sorry. If I make a mistake and it offends you, let me know personally, and we'll talk it over. But I assure you, please, I'm not here to offend people. Why would I turn viewers away? I need viewers. I need my subscriber count to keep going up. So let's do that. So, Terrence, I'm sorry if I screwed that up. I do screw things up. Okay, if everyone selling a motorhome, yes. Oh, there we go. I lost my place here. Okay, John Ward, hello, Dave. This is W3OJ. Recovering from a fall, but I can watch. Well, John, I'm really sorry about that. Like I said, I fell today. Trying to get into the Jeep, something got in my way, and I fell backwards. And fortunately, a couple people came over and who were very strong and lifted me up out of there. And it was very nice. So I hope you're recovering well and didn't break anything. Warren Baker, hello, Dave and all Augies from Chattanooga, WA4BAK. Sosa S, I love you, Papa Casler. Well, thank you. I am a papa. I've got 2 kids. Hi, Dave. Do you recommend self-amalgamation tape for coax connections? Sure. It's great for waterproofing. What most self-amalgamation tape. What self-amalgamation means, when you wind it on, you stretch it slightly. And that starts a chemical reaction. As you wind it, the stuff amalgamates to the point where you end up just having a solid, watertight piece of plastic over whatever it is you're doing. 3M makes a tape. I don't have it handy, but I do keep some on hand that does that. Now, the problem is with the commercial self-amalgamation tape, it is not UV resistant. So after you have put the self-amalgamation tape on, which will give you your water tightness, wrap that very carefully with electrical tape, which does have UV resistance. Now, you're going to have to do something to keep that electrical tape on there, because the glue on the electrical tape tends to migrate away from the plastic back. And so you'll start to see that electrical tape gradually unravel itself. So you got to put it on there, put a little piece of wire or tie wrap or something like that to kind of hold it in place so the wind won't get it and so on. And then that will give UV protection to the self-amalgamation tape. You'll have a nice waterproof joint that can last for years. But if that self-amalgamation tape is laid out where the UV can get to it from the sun, it will crack badly. And I've had that happen. Now, can you purchase self-amalgamation tape that is also UV resistance? And the answer is most certainly yes. And you can get it through DX Engineering, I'm sure HRO. You can get it from people like R&L, RF Parts. There are lots of people. And most of the hamfests you go to, there'll be somebody selling it somewhere. Usually one of those spreads that's got 5 million different little parts. I usually load up when I go to those there. Okay, should I protect ABR 400 wire that is exposed to the sun? If it's just wire, no, you don't have to. You can put bare wire up. Now, one thing you have to notice is that wire, for example, like house wire, THHN wire, you put it up in the air and make a dipole out of it. Eventually, the sun will destroy the coating, the insulation, and it'll start hanging off of the dipole. Okay, but the copper's still fine, so you're okay. Okay, Larry Fields here this week. Our weather is weird. It's warm in the mornings, and at 5 a.m. was 26 centigrade in the afternoon. Thor, thunderstorms, come calling, which drives me crazy. Our net is at 11 UTC. It's right on 7095, which in the U.S. is a digital allocation. But in other areas of the world is phone. Okay, and how well I remember the thunderstorms in the Philippines. Like I said, I spent 2 years there. And I tell you, you walk 20 feet in one of those thunderstorms and you are soaked to the skin. So, boy, that water can come down at an impressive rate. I'm surprised fish can't just swim through the air. I mean, there's so much water in there. It's really wild. Okay, Domino Storm CW was king on our field day. I was 17 words per minute without even knowing it until somebody told me. This year's field day was by far my most fun CW experience ever. Domino, it sounds to me like you are a great advocate for CW. It is true that one of the best ways of, over a very short period of time, increasing your CW speed is to work contests, because it's amazing how you get into the groove and things start to happen. So congratulations on the 17. Pete Dayton's channel, if I have a 300-foot run from shack to flagpole vertical, should I use LMR 400 or LMR 600? Will tune at the antenna. Okay, so if you're going to have a tuner at the antenna, then you're going to have 50 ohms, 50 ohms. Okay? So the only losses are going to be the ohmic losses in the cable, the attenuation. So look at the table. I printed one of those tables. What did I do with it? Where'd it go? I don't know where it went. Anyway, you can go to Pasternak, which is a company that sells everything under the sun, and a lot of things that aren't even under the sun, and get the actual attenuation for that. For like 80 meters, 40 meters, no problem. But when you start getting up into 17, 15, 12, and 10, the attenuation becomes more significant. So if you had your druthers, you'd take a look at the attenuation for the LMR 400. And if that still seems a little bit iffy to you on the frequencies that you intend to use, then go with the LMR 600. Now the LMR 600, LMR 400 is the biggest cable actually meant for amateur radio. I mean, they use it extensively in commercial installations. LMR 600 is bigger, and connectors become an issue. Okay, but if you're just going to do a long run of that and you intend to operate a lot in the coming 2 or 3 years where we're going to have really good sunspot activity, then yeah, go for the higher cable. But you've got a cost trade-off. Okay, LMR 400 is readily available. You can get it direct bury, and it can go the 300 feet out there. And since the tuner is at the base of the antenna, then it's going to be 50 ohms to 50 ohms, so you're not going to lose energy due to high SWR. Okay, so you're in good shape. My top of the rule of thumb might be LMR 400, but go check the figures for it, because you may be saying, shoot, if I operate at 10 meters, I'm losing half my signal at LMR 400. Do I want to do that? Maybe I want to spring for the extra money for the 600. I will assure you that LMR 600 will be bulky, unwieldy, and difficult to deal with, and very difficult to put connectors on. You're probably going to have to get bespoke connectors for them directly from Times Microwave. Okay, so you're looking at putting in a significant investment, whereas with the LMR 400, they're not going to be putting in a significant investment. So just some thoughts on it. Okay, Michael CKI5AE, if you don't get our CW Elmer MFJ419, I can loan you mine. I really like it for practicing CW with the Long Island CW Club. Well, Michael, if I don't get something soon, I may take you up on that. I also have an email from the developer of that device, and I may contact him directly and see what I can do, because from what I can tell, it's a very interesting little device. Domino Storm W2GSB was 3F this year, and we were at roughly 700 QSOs by 3 a.m. with a lot of visiting operators. Very good. Very good. Now, it is usually not remembered by anybody, but I will just say the words. Field day is not a contest. Field day is an operating event. And the point of that is that field day, you should be working on your skills and stuff like that, and not trying to get so many QSOs. But the problem is, of course, you use contest type logging software, you use contest type operating techniques. You enter through the ARRL as though it is a contest, okay? And the statistics are published in QST. Last year, our field day station won in its class 2A for Colorado. So we were quite pleased with that. Now, I've been to my personal thing about field day is it's a great chance to gab and eat and chat and tell stories and, things like that. And when I find with my voice that after about an hour and a quarter, or maybe an hour and 45 minutes, I lose my voice. I can't keep. I like to run frequencies. I think I'm pretty good at running. And running means you're calling CQ and people are answering you and you're picking them off really, 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 really fast. And then there's the hunt and pounce, where you tune around, find a new station, jump in there, grab them, tune around, find a new station, jump in there, grab them. Now, where that is valuable is, since the score, a lot of contests has to do with the number of sections or entities or bands or stuff like that. You may want to get something different that you have to really search for and then get. Okay, and that could double your score. So, yeah, there are a lot of contest operating techniques. So, yeah, field day is not a contest, right? Really. I tell you, it's not a contest. Not a contest at all. Yeah, right. Okay, so anyway. Let's see. Larry Fields, I'm still watching the extra class. Good. I hope that works well for you. Steve Loeffler, how many have clicked the like button below the video? 59. To answer it directly. Sosa C, is Dave on the registry? Steve, Dave, your technician training video link is broken in the links below. Yes, it is. I need to update my website, and I have been quite remiss on that. I've been keeping my assistant busy editing videos, which is his forte. I have had assistants in the past whose forte is HTML. They help me get those websites set up. But the links that are in there are all wrong. What I need to do is put a link in the technician that sends you to the ARRL HQ YouTube page. And there's a playlist in there that's got the technician videos. That's where it should send you. And then for the general and extra, a link telling you how to get through the menu in learn.arrl.org to get to the general and extra videos. So I promise I will do that. I'm not sure exactly when. I've got a lot of things stacked up right now, and then I'll get to that as quickly as I can. And I apologize, Steve. That, I think maybe what I should do is just take it down so I don't confuse people. Okay, Leo Gustafson, I'll count me in on that. I'm definitely an analog guy in a digital world at 61. Makita UK, good morning. Still awake, so thought I would listen into live for a change. Hope you had a good July 4th celebration, Dave. Well, thank you very much. I did. Doug Dry, I'm glad you received it, Dave. Regarding the internet VoIP, I'm on it, Dave. I got you a Grand Stream ATA today that should allow you to connect up. Once I get it tested, it will be on its way. Doug, you are more than kind. You are a gentleman and a scholar. I really appreciate that. This is a trip down memory lane when people were connected by wires. Okay, thank you. Larry Fields, PLDT, used that here, but it was funny when I tried to dial, the operator was trying to talk to me between dialing. Yeah. Glenn Martin, we had 100-mile-an-hour El Derecho wind here in northwest Missouri, 29 June. My 20-foot top rail mast survived. And that's from Glenn N0QFT. I'm afraid that I can't say the same about my MFJ hex beam. I notice there's a wire hanging down from it. So that means I'm going to have to lean it over and fix whatever it is that's the issue with it. And it's continuing, considering it's been up there for several years, without a problem. We did have some stunning winds through here earlier this year. And different people in different areas have different names for wind. The name of the wind in Southern California that came from the desert over the mountains brought extremely hot, dry air to us and caused so many fires because this was a whale of a wind. It's called the Santa Ana. And everybody knows what you're talking about. Santa Ana happens to be the name of a city down in Orange County. I think it's in Orange County. But the Santa Ana winds were something else. Some people call different winds. I've heard Chinook, and now you mentioned the El Derecho. It'd be interesting to gather a collection of the names of winds. So, Joe Tyson selling the motorhome. Oh no. Yeah, it's still sitting out there. And it's going to be picked up tomorrow. And I'm supposed to be handed a check for it. Now, I took the easy way out and contacted the local RV dealer. They still have a program where you drive in your RV and you can leave with a check. Okay? So that was the program that I used. It wasn't that simple, though. They came out and did inspections and all of that, and they started from a price and kept knocking off for, you know, there's a mosquito on the side of your RV. I'm going to take $1,000 off for that. This kind of thing. And I talked it over with my wife, and we decided to accept less than what we thought it was worth, just so we can get out from under it. We don't have any payments on it. We own it outright. Okay, it's become a service nightmare. So we're going to take that money and apply it to our home equity line of credit and basically pay for the Jeep. Because when I bought the Jeep, getting an auto loan at a much higher interest rate than the home equity line of credit. So I just used the home equity line of credit, paid for the Jeep with cash. But that big lump in the home equity line of credit is still sitting there. So, you know, I service it every month with interest, but I need to get that thing down. And at some point, probably this year, I will try to sell the airplane. And then we can completely retire that debt and really bring down our house. House is the only real debt I have, and actually I owe more on the home equity line of credit, thanks to the Jeep, than I do in the house. The house is almost paid off. So, let's see. Optical Man Jeff, and he would be curious about this. How is your cataract surgery doing? And the answer is fine. The doc said it's all healed, and I go in next week to get measured for new glasses. This eye, which is where the cataract was done, oh, it's so great. I put my hand over this eye, and everything is so crisp in front of me. The other thing is this eye, with the cataract in it, everything is brownish. And I'd never noticed that before the surgery. But now that I can actually see with this eye, I can really tell the difference. I thought that my brain would start to average the two, but that does not seem to be happening. Okay, Class A test, 5 words per minute, but only letters, no numbers or periods, etc. NTC requires it on the Class A only. The exams are similar to FCC. Class B is similar to general, and Class A is extra class. Well, Larry, good luck with your studying. Lefty, that Princess phone was charming. I have a black one as well, but mine has a metal dial. Yeah, I kind of remember that. This dial is plastic, okay? But remember, this outer case here is Bakelite. Bakelite was a plastic that was developed before, back in the 1920s, I think, and was about the only plastic that was used widely. And everything was made of Bakelite. back then because it was the only real plastic available. Now, Bakelite is made of a sort of a matrix plastic, and it's embedded with a million little fibers, short fibers. Think fiberglass, only not. Okay, so if you have a Bakelite knob for an old radio, don't do anything that will mar the surface of that. Because if you think that you can use a little acid on it to etch off all the last of that dirt and stuff, and then you'll just buff it up and make it shiny again, no you won't. Because it's shiny because that was at the edge of the mold. And so on the surface, when you pulled it away, you did not see the fibers inside. They were just under the surface. So if you take that top layer off, and it's not very thick, you'll see all those little fibers. And there will be no way to make that thing shiny again. So be very careful with that. So, yeah, I remember Prince's phones. They thought that was so innovative. Andy Cowley, hi Dave, hope you're well, doing pretty good. Leo Gustafson, I once had an odd pulse phone at work, a box about twice the thickness of a pack of cigarettes, with a chrome hook on the left side, with the handset hanging from it. The dial was on a short extension. Yeah, there were some really weird looking ones. One of the things that they did, Montbell did, was they made some phones for a explosive environment, like mines, okay, where a single spark could be fatal. And you'll notice that when you take this thing off right here, there's switches, or relays, or there's switches, I guess, underneath here, and they make contact. And the voltage that's on the lines is enough to create a small spark, especially if you happen to get it when it's ringing. The ring voltage for these phones is nearly 100 volts. And I've talked with old phone guys who did wiring, and they said they'd get bit by the wires from time to time when people would put ringing voltage down them. The actual DC voltage for talking was not so much. Okay, from the box. Lawrence Paraday, if anyone is looking at buying something that will require shipping, do it now. Looks like we will be on strike August 1st, and no one handles the volume that UPS moves. Okay, good warning, thank you. Everybody's going on strike. The actors, the writers, I don't know. I remember there was a big strike when I was a child. The Glendale City bus employees went on strike for more pay. City fired them all and merged their bus system with the Los Angeles bus system. Just gave it to them, I guess. And so from that point on, all the bus drivers were LA, Rapid Transit District, RTD. Nothing rapid about it, but they were the ones who ran the buses after that. It's kind of sad, you know. Same thing happened when President Reagan, almost called him Governor Reagan. He used to be governor of California. President Reagan fired all the PATCO employees. And that was the Professional Air Traffic Controllers Organization. 30,000 people, 30,000 air traffic controllers were out of a job. And there went the nation's knowledge base of air traffic control went with them. So they had to bring in military and stuff like that. And there was major chaos because until these guys got up to speed, which took 2 or 3 years, they just throttled back the amount of air traffic that they were allowed. That was back when the Civil Aeronautics Board set, or is it, well, I don't know, CAB, I thought, actually set rates for flights. And airlines competed on the services they could give you. That was back when it was actually pleasant to fly. You got a real meal. There was room for your legs. People were nice. Boy, that's changed. Okay. So, but Lawrence, thank you for the warning. Neil Marsh, good evening all from W7NRM. Sorry I'm late, no problem. Jason Heff, K4 Heff. Hi, Dave. Working 13 colonies. Thanks for the awesome Elmer tips. Well, you're certainly welcome. That's what I'm here for. Ted Jack, hi, Dave. KI6SH here. Doug Lover, I like radio. I need one my work. Need one for my work, I guess. Jared Hancock, WH6DLY, says hello. Leo says our military is replete with parlance outside of the published dictionaries. Having been in the military myself, I agree completely. Sean, Kim6NFO says, Dave, you're awesome. No apology necessary. And I did that same day that I got an email from the guy who thought that I should be consigned to the outermost regions of hell. I got another email about the very same article from a Canadian ham who says, Dave, finally I understand. Thank you for this. This is the best tip I have received ever from QST. And I'm going, I'll take this one. Dictionaries can't keep up with in-group slang or what's called jargon, or there's a number of more technical words for the language that's group speak. And I guess linguists study that to have something to study. So we were taught about lossy algorithms in file compression, for example, pictures, and that's really old. By the way, one of the IBM scientists who worked on the fax standard that's still used today, is a gal I knew. I think she's passed away now. She was the one who mentored me through my first and second patents. She was an IBM fellow. That's the highest technical rank you can get in IBM. And I worked very closely with her for several months. And it was a very interesting time. But she also was on the JPEG committee. And the JPEG, Joint Photographic Experts Group. That's what JPEG stands for. And they use a cosine type of a transformation to reduce the rate. It's very, very interesting, very intricate algorithm that was designed originally at the behest of the CIA, who were getting very, very large images from their spy planes and did not have anywhere near the storage capacity they needed. They desperately needed to compress those images. And that led to the formation of the Joint Photographic Experts Group, or JPEG, which invented JPEG. Okay, so that's where it came from. Okay, can you tell me why SWR seems to rise as power goes up while transmitting? Well, first of all, let me tell you and assure you that that should not happen. Okay, something is wrong if the SWR goes up as you put the power up. Now, some SWR meters, remember, you have to set the maximum, and then flip the switch from reverse to forward. No, from forward to reverse, and the needle would drop back. If you added power without resetting the calibration on that, it would be apparent SWR expert. But a lot of meters today, you don't have to do that forward reflected type of thing. Some of them you do. Unless that is the issue, you should not be seeing the SWR go up. If the SWR goes up, something is changing dimension. Okay? It could be a wire. It could be what often happens in a balun. Remember, balun has a ferrite core. I'm saying ferrite in the generic sense because I'm not exactly sure what material it's made of. Okay, that core has very well established magnetic properties. But if you get it hot, those properties start to change. And when they change, that will change everything about that transmission line that incorporates that balun. Okay, and that can be happening too. Now, I will warn you that normally when the balun element gets cold, we will see it go back to normal, but it is possible to permanently warp the core as far as its magnetic properties. It is also possible that it will get hot enough to self-destruct. It will crack, break into pieces, hopefully just a couple of pieces, but maybe many, many pieces. You note that generally you get these balun boxes with the balun in it, and they're doggone sturdy. Because if that core blows, it could blow all over everywhere, and if it happens to be in your shack, that could be an issue. So be aware that if you up the power and the SWR goes up, something is heating up, and go look for it. So let's see. Dog lover, I need a radio. I listen on FM. I live in a media trailer, in a metal trailer. Okay, extra. We're out of time. So I'm going to say thank you to Optical Man Jeff, who adds $15. Thanks, Dave, for all your help and being our Elmer. And oh, there's so much more here. Okay. Terrence, my memory is bad. Sometimes that's a good thing. I don't remember other things. I collect, Neil Marsh, I collect vintage, pre-Bell breakup, desk sets and such. I love the Space Saver for its weirdness. Automatic Electric. General Telephone and electric supplier make something similar. Yeah, a lot of people don't remember. AT&T, which always talked about universal service, did not provide telephone service for the entire country. The federal government said that's too big a monopoly. And so there were geographic areas set aside for other phone companies, which ranged from 20 people on a switchboard up to General Electric, General Telephone, had pretty large areas and so on. And it all interoperated just fine. Okay, so Dave, any suggestions for keeping the mice, rabbits, voles, etc. from chewing on my coax? Run it in something. I mean, if it's really bad, you can go down to Home Depot and get this flex conduit that's empty inside. Flex conduit, run your cable through that, because those animals are not going to be able to get through that steel outer coating. So, and it will not affect the signal inside the coax at all. Okay, and Terrence, I'm sorry if I, are there multiple Terrences here? 2EO and a Terrence Barfield. Okay. I apologize. Yeah, I'm an old man. Make mistakes. Yeah. Okay. We are out of time. So I look forward to meeting with you next week. I'm trying to get through a bunch of stuff here to get these general cables up online. And then I'm going to, and if anybody wants to order one of these, you can go to the website at dcasler.com. And up in the menu bar at the top, it'll have something that collections, I think is the name that's up there, collections or something like that. These are $29.95. Okay, so $30. That is postpaid anywhere in the United States. Now, Europe, some countries it's pretty cheap to ship to, others it's not. So if you are in a different country, contact me and I'll look up the shipping for that. If it's within reason, I'll just let it go. at that price. So I have one of those explosion-proof phones. Collectors call it the Soviet Princess. I love that. I love that. Okay, here it is. Thank you all very much. I love you guys. You are so supportive. Please spread the word about this channel. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for accepting my lame apologies. And we will talk to you again next week. So, 73.